classic dish that you will find on just about any barbecue restaurant menu in Georgia, South Carolina, or North Carolina here in the United States is Brunswick Stew. This is a classic dish, and some of the best that I've ever had was at a little restaurant called Harold's Barbecue, which closed its doors a few years ago. So this is going to be my attempt to duplicate their recipe. It will not be as good, but it is going to be very close, I promise you. So Harold's Barbecue was well known for its Brunswick stew served with crackling cornbread. And sometimes people would even skip the pork and the barbecue and go straight for the Brunswick stew, or just go by there and pick up a gallon and take it home. So we're going to start by making a chicken stock for our stew, and I like to do this during the week when, I have a little bit of downtime. We've already eaten dinner. I'll just go ahead and stew a chicken. We like to stew chickens here in Georgia and South Carolina, North Carolina. We always will usually stew a chicken for soups and stews and that kind of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and add all of my ingredients here. I'm going to cover it and let it stew for about 2 to 3 hours. When it's done, I'll go ahead and remove the chicken, and I want to strain out my stock. And I'm going to actually divide the stock down into mason jars, and I'm going to freeze it. I'm not going to use all of this for the Brunswick stew. So I'm also going to label my lids that I did not put onion in here, because sometimes I like to make things with shallots, and I want to make sure I don't use a stock that I put onion in. So I'm kind of picky like that, I guess. But at any rate, I'll go ahead and freeze what I'm not going to use. And now we can get started with the Brunswick stew. I usually like to do this when it's cold outside and it's snowing and it's in the winter time. Of course, it's always good in July when we're barbecuing out too. So go ahead and remove the bones and the skin from your chicken. And then I have my tomatoes here. They are whole San Marzano tomatoes, which I'm going to cut down, and I'm going to drain off the liquid off of those, okay? We'll need some Worcestershire sauce and some Tabasco sauce. Of course, our chicken stock. And then our barbecue sauce. Now, I want to make a point about the barbecue sauce. This can make or break your Brunswick stew. I recall their Brunswick stew having a tiny bit of a pepper flavor. So make sure your sauce, whatever it is that you're using, is not sweet. It can be a little bit smoky and maybe a little bit spicy, but don't get like a smoky and sweet, okay? Because we're going to use a lot of corn in here, and we don't want to have it too sweet, all right? So I have my smoked pork here. I would suggest if you don't smoke your own barbecue pork, just go ahead and pick up a pound or two at your favorite barbecue restaurant and make sure that it's smoked. And it should also be pulled. I've chopped mine here, but make sure yours is pulled, smoked, barbecue, okay? The smoke is very important. And whenever I smoke barbecue, I like to do a couple at a time, because it takes a long time to do that, and I can freeze whatever I don't use. So I usually end up putting it in some kind of Brunswick stew or something like that. And I'm going to put parsley in here because I happen to have some, but I can probably say for certain that Harold's Barbecue probably did not use parsley. All right, and then onion, garlic, and celery. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this together. Here are the ingredients that you will need. If you'd like to jot them down, I'll also put them below the video if you would like to copy those to your computer. Okay, so go ahead and start with a little bit of oil. Have your pan on about medium heat, and we'll put our celery and onions in here along with some salt, just to kind of release that moisture and get it cooking. I'm going to put a generous helping of black pepper in here, and after about 8 minutes, I'll go ahead and add my garlic. Okay, so now we can add a little bit of the stock. I'm only putting in about 2 cups now because I don't want this to be real watery. I'm going to add my stock slowly. I felt like my onions were a little bit too big. I'd like for them to be a little bit smaller, so I just kind of pureed it a little bit with my stick blender. But just certainly you can start from the very beginning by just making sure that your onions and your celery are chopped very small, okay? And then we're going to put in some Worcestershire sauce. I showed you how to make that. And go ahead and add your pork. I'm adding my stock again. And then I'm going to add my chicken. And now our barbecue sauce. So I want to give it a quick taste to test for the salt. I definitely needed some more salt. And so we'll go ahead and stir all this in. We're going to let those flavors kind of concentrate for about 10 more minutes. Now I want to add my corn. And this was some corn that I froze from the summer's harvest from the farmer's market. And I'm going to go ahead and add my tomatoes as well. At this point, we are going to let this cook for about 30 minutes until it reduces nice and thickens up. We don't want our tomatoes to be real chunky in the end dish, okay? So just kind of let it stew and do its thing. You can go ahead and add your Tabasco sauce there at the very end. Of course, that's optional, but it does give a little bit of heat to it. You can also add it to your dish after you've spooned out your portions, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and put my parsley in there. It's just a frozen cube of parsley. And we are ready. So make sure you've made some cornbread too to go with it. This is just some crackling cornbread. And it is ready to go. It's so good. It's just so comforting. It's a very smoky tomato stew. And you notice that I didn't put lima beans in here. Harold's Barbecue, I don't recall them having lima beans. That's probably why I liked it so much. So I hope you can give this a try. Sometimes I do put a little bit of potato in it, however, but I don't recall Harold's Barbecue having potato, but they could have. And of course, I always serve it maybe with some coleslaw. And of course, I mentioned the cornbread. Now, I'd like to invite you to head on over to my channel page where you can subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also, click on that little G+ box there in the corner, and that will take you on over to my Google Plus page where I also share many things. And so if you want to follow me over there, feel free to do so. Thank you so much for watching, and y'all have a beautiful day.